Hey, y'all. Hey, welcome to the PowerWomen podcast. This is the show where powerful women share their journeys, discuss how to solve powerful issues, and empower men who help us rise. I'm your host, Power Mom, Claire Brown. Hey, y'all. Hey, thank you so much for joining us again. And this episode, I'm so excited because we have two very special ladies joining us. And I'm going to let them introduce themselves and tell us who they are and a little bit about themselves. So, will you go ahead?
Sure. Well, thank you for having me. I'm Lara Blume McGee. I'm from here, Little Rock, Arkansas, and thank you again for this opportunity. And I only did it because of you. I love you so much. And my friend Sharlene.
Hi, I'm Sharlene Rochard. I am a mother, an Epstein survivor, an advocate, speaker, and a close friend of Laura's. And thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm really grateful for you both to be here.
Yes.
I'm very honored because I know how difficult things have been. I don't personally know. However, I can imagine the difficulties that you've both been through. And I'm very grateful that you've chosen this space to sit with me, to share your journeys. And so thank you very much because it's done in this way with the vulnerability that you share to create massive change.
Right.
For those who have been through what you've been through or similar things that you've been through so that we can share the learnings and how to create change for others in the future. So thank you for that.
Thank you. No, I definitely feel like this podcast in particular is a safe space for us to speak about what happened to us. And, you know, we can't say that about every other podcast.
Right.
And so thank you so much. And I'm excited to share our story today.
Yeah, well, good. Well, that's always been my goal.
Yes.
Yeah. And so, take us back a little bit.
Sure.
Where did you grow up? Who were you both? And what did life look like? And what were your dreams as children? And who did you want to become?
Sure. So I grew up here in Little Rock, Arkansas, and since I can remember, I wanted to be a fashion model. In my bedroom, I had pictures covered of all the top magazines, covered my wall, all four walls, the Vogue, the Cosmo, just everything. I went to modeling school here, Excel School of Modeling, shout out to the Moody's, and eventually went to New York City, was scouted, and then moved to Miami at 16 to model with Elite Model Management. So I moved alone, and that was a big task for a 16-year-old because I would not let my 16-year-old daughter move away right now.
Right.
Yes. And I remember how everything happened. I got the contract and I talked to my parents about it. And I said, I really want to do this. And they're like, well, you're not finished with school yet.
Right.
The only way I'm going to let you go is if you go talk to your principal at Central High School. And I was like, oh my gosh, he's definitely going to say no. This is not going to happen. So I remember going into his office and I was really nervous and I had the contract and everything and he looked it over and he's really serious and he's like, well, young lady, if you have this opportunity, I need you to take it right now. I need you to go. And I was actually really surprised for him to say that. And I went home and told my parents and I was elated and they were like, are you sure?
Yeah, because they were thinking, that's the hurdle. She's not going to get past it. It's not going to happen.
But the caveat was that I had to finish my high school through correspondence. So this is before the internet and everything. And so everything was sent to me by snail mail through the high school. I did my homework, snail mail, sent it back. Right. They graded it and then sent it back with the grade. And so I did my last 2 years that way and then graduated with all A's. And I'm really proud because I did the work by myself.
Yes, yeah, you did.
So was in Miami, loved Miami. And then the next step was always to go to New York City to model. Yeah. And so I ended up moving there in 99. Yes, the end of 99. Was with a couple different agencies there. I always wanted to I love runway.
Okay.
But runway, you have to be really, what's the word besides skinny? You have to be, a hanger, okay? And so I was getting casted for.
What's that term mean? Hanger?
Well, the clothes are just hanging on you.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Tall,
Right.
tall and thin.
Tall and
You have
thin,
to be
yes.
really tall and thin.
And so
Okay.
I've always been busty, not as busty as I am now, but I've always been curvy, I'll say. And so I'm 5'9", and I remember my agent, I was 140 at the time. I'm not
my.
140 now. Yeah, I'm a lot
So
heavier.
you were a hanger.
No, I wasn't a hanger.
You're kidding.
So I go in, and because I was casted for a lot of lifestyle things and editorial stuff, and that was fine, but I wanted to do runway. He said, well, if you really want to do runway, I need you to lose 20 pounds. So I'd be 120. I mean,
Yeah,
and
at
I
5'9".
like bread a lot. Okay, and croissants. So and then he said, if you don't want to lose 20 pounds, you can gain 20 pounds, and then I can put you into our plus size section. I was like, well, I don't want to do that either. So they were trying to put me in this, just these kind of blocks of where you have to be. So that was really frustrating.
Yeah.
But I still kept, I ended up starting to teach modeling runway classes to people. That's how much I enjoyed it, to other models that were new to our agency.
Mm-hmm.
So I was really good at it. Wait, in New York City, I was at the Bryant Park.
No, wait a minute.
Yes.
How old were you at this time?
In New York?
Mm-hmm.
19, 20. Yeah, early 20s. Yes.
So you went to Miami at 16.
Miami first, and then New York.
And then and by the time you got to New York, you were how old?
Just turned 20, I believe. Yes, just turned 20.
Okay.
So an adult, but still young.
Yeah.
Our brain is still developing.
Sure.
But you think you know everything.
Oh, yeah.
And I have always been so independent. And once I left home, I didn't want the help of my family.
Sure.
My dad was abusive, growing up. He was like Jekyll and Hyde. He was the nicest guy. Everybody loved him in the community. But at home, there were times when he couldn't control his temper. And it was a really sad part because I love my father, but I dealt with a lot of physical abuse on myself and my mom, and seeing that. And so when my dad would feel bad about things, he would always, maybe buy us something or take care of something, but he would hold it over our head. And I didn't want any part of that. So I was like, I'm going to do this on my own. And I remember when I left to Miami, he's like, oh, you'll be back. And I was like, no, I won't.
It was an escape.
Yes, I didn't want to be under his roof. And, I just was very dysfunctional. I was like, I'd rather be on my own. So yeah. So in New York, we'll go to New York. And I stayed in contact with my parents. I talked to them all the time. It wasn't like we didn't speak. But there was things that I did not share with them.
Sure.
A lot of things. And I believe it was in 2000, yeah, in Bryant Park. I met Jeffrey Epstein's girlfriend during Fashion Week. And she told me about him. Didn't know who he was. She just said he's this great guy. He's connected. He likes to help young women. And he knows the owner of Victoria's Secret. Well, that was one of my dreams, to be in the Victoria's Secret catalog. Do you remember the catalog?
Oh, yeah.
That we all received?
Oh, yeah.
So I was so excited because I was like, he knows the owner and he can get me in. Like, I don't have to go through this whole process, the regular process, and I can meet him. And so I was really, really excited about that. The first time that I met Jeffrey, it was just a normal conversation, but he showed great interest in me. He wanted to know everything about me. He wanted to know my vulnerabilities, where I was from, what my dreams were. So I left feeling, oh my gosh, like, this guy really wants to help me. He asked me a lot of questions. Men don't talk to me like this.
Right.
He's showing me a lot of attention. He really cares. He really likes to help young people. So that's what I'm thinking. And so nothing happened bad on the first visit.
Right.
And that is why I came back to see him again on the second visit. And that is when the abuse started, on the second visit. And it did start off as a massage. I mean, that's the best way to describe it. but it didn't end up like that. It was rape, it was sexual abuse.
Yeah.
And I froze. And then it was so traumatic to me. I really didn't process at the time what happened. I remember leaving questioning myself, did that actually happen? Did what just happen? Because it was so normalized to him.
Sure.
Like, this is not a big deal. This is normal. And he didn't seem alarmed by it. He was just like,
And downplayed it.
yeah, just, it's no big deal. Just another day. And now that we know what we know, it was for him. This was another day. This is how he lived and manipulated vulnerable people.
And how old were you at this time?
So I was still 20.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So I remember him calling after it happened, asking me to come again. I was like, okay, maybe he's going to apologize. I really thought that, because I like to see the best in people, and I had empathy. I was like, maybe that was, he had a bad day. I'm like, I'm making excuses for him.
Yeah.
And so I went again, and he told me, he said, I have wonderful, like excited, I have wonderful footage that I can show Les now for your Victoria's Secret casting. And I said, what do you mean? And that's when I found out that everything was recorded. He had peephole cameras throughout the house, and everything is recorded during, in that massage room and other places in the house as well. And that was another thing I couldn't process. What do you mean everything is recorded? He's like, well, I have it. And so I feel like that was for me, and he knew that. That was something he held over me for so long.
Right.
And I lived in fear of my parents finding out, clients finding out, friends finding out. It was my shame that I dealt with. And I came back to see him over and over again because I felt like if I didn't, he was going to release it to the world.
And I think you're touching on the biggest question that people have.
Yeah.
Of why?
Yeah.
Why do you come back?
Yeah.
And I don't think that there is a real conception of what the survivor goes through
Yes.
in that.
Yes.
And there are terms for that, actually. And they are, it's capture bonding.
Yeah. Well, and I felt bad for him. I really, that's the crazy part. I was like, what I would think when going to see him, what happened to him as a child? I don't know if my other survivor sisters have thought about this, but I was like, what happened to him to make him this way?
Right.
And there was a part of me, because we didn't know at the time that there was so many. I thought he was just doing this to me.
Right.
We didn't know there was all these girls, and so I was like, why is he doing this to me? What happened to him to make him this way? And I started feeling bad for him, but I felt obligated to go see him. There were times when I said I need to tell him, I was about to tell my parents or go to the authorities, but I said, they're not going to believe me. He's so powerful. What are they going to do?
Right. Which goes into somewhat of a Stockholm syndrome.
Yes, and I'll go back to when there was a time when I was a teenager. I was probably about 13 or 14. We lived in Marlow Manor in Little Rock here, and I called the police on my father because he was being violent with my mom. The police came, and this is instilled in me, and that's why I was like, especially with authority. They came and they're like, little girl, look where you live. Look at this nice house, nice neighborhood. And at the time, that house was, was brand new in the 90s. And that was it. Left.
Right.
Like, your dad's discipline. But it wasn't even, my dad was abusing my mother. But he was like, why did you call the police? Look where you live. You have everything so nice here. There's really bad crime that we're fighting. And that was in my brain about, this is how, if I report something that's wrong, that I know that's wrong, nothing's going to happen. They're not going to believe you. They're just going to dismiss you. And that stayed with me. I'm like, yeah, nothing's really, really going to happen.
Because that was already in your programming.
It was already in my programming. And especially with somebody like Jeffrey that was so powerful and had talked all the time to me about who he knew. Said he was best friends with Trump and all these powerful people he knew. And that was a common thing.
Right.
So it's like, okay, if he knows all these people and has all these connections, it even makes it worse for a survivor to come forward.
Right. So, Sharlene,
Mhm.
what was your experience, and who were you when you were young? And who did you want to become when you grew up? And what did that look like? And where did you grow up? What was your journey?
Yeah, so I grew up in Canada, and Laura and I have a very similar story, actually. um, I wanted to be, well, I actually didn't want to be a model at first. I wanted to be a teacher. And I didn't have any confidence because where I grew up, it's very black or white. It's very white town, and there really wasn't that many black people there. And so my mother's white and my father's black. I'm mixed. And so I really didn't fit in anywhere. I didn't have any friends. People would spit on me, and tell me how horrible I was. And so my esteem was very, very low. And so my mother decided to put me in a school of elegance to learn how to wash my face properly, put makeup on, and maybe hopefully that would give me confidence. And I did that when I was 11. And then when I was 12, they had a contest. And I won that contest. And that contest had modeling agents that came to it. So I actually started working at 12. And then I was very ambitious. I wanted to be a model because that is what was giving me confidence. I also, like Lara, had pictures on my walls of the Victoria's Secret models and, all of the girls at the time that were really big. And so I was very ambitious.
Yeah. And so, when did you get a modeling contract per se? When did you move? And what did that look like?
So I started modeling at 12, and then I started traveling at 16. And I moved around to different cities: New York, Miami, LA, Texas, Chicago. I honestly just started modeling at that time. So, yeah.
And did you do runway as well, or print, or both?
Mhm.
Or
Yeah. Yeah, I did everything. I was a hanger.
oh, you were a hanger. She made it. Okay.
Of course you were, Sharlene.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you should see Charlene's
I was much
pictures.
thinner than I am now ever since I had kids.
You are beautiful,
Yeah,
Charlene.
body's
Yeah.
changed. So, I just know I was much thinner, and I did runway modeling. I literally traveled the world. I went to Paris, Milan, all over Europe. I did everything.
Wow.
So, yeah. And when you're in that world, you meet people that definitely try to take advantage of you. And that's when I met Jeffrey. But I also met a lot of other people during that time. And what I think that people don't realize is the reason I'm an advocate is because it's so easy to fall into these predators' arms because you are so vulnerable. Like if you are from another country and you're trying to work in say Europe, you still need a working visa. And the people that are in charge of your working visa, they're in charge of you. And the modeling industry, it's like you are putting yourself in somebody else's hands. So, and a lot of it is so superficial. Like it depends on what your skin is, how tall you are, how thin you are, how fat you are.
Yeah.
If you can walk properly, if your hands look nice, you could do hand modeling. There were girls that, bit their nails and they weren't unable to do some jobs because they couldn't hold the product and their hands wouldn't look nice. Like there's so much that depends on the outer beauty. And so it really starts to erode at your self-confidence. So I was a girl who had no self-confidence and then entered the world of, you really have to have thick skin to be able to continue in that world. I'm still modeling today. I'd like to think that I do have some thick skin, but it was definitely earned the hard way.
At an extreme cost.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
and
it-
so you started at age 12. Was there a time when you took a break?
Not really. No.
Okay.
I mean, I've thought that maybe going back to school might be okay. But during those times, even when I went to school, I was still modeling. So it was definitely a job for me.
So this goes back into my background of what I've studied in college. And in the adolescence ages of 12 to 18 is when self-identity occurs. And that's when we look to people of who do we want to become? It's when we ask the questions to ourselves of what do I want to be, right? And so that's when we are choosing where do we want to go to college and who do I want to be when I grow up? And it's also when we usually seek out our mentors, right? And things of that nature. It's also when children experience self-esteem issues. It's also when children start to experiment drugs, alcohol, sex, all these different things, right? And what you're both explaining here makes so much sense in that. Your vulnerability is at an all-time low or high, either way you want to look at that. And so predatory-wise, it makes sense that you are the most vulnerable to experience or to jump on, if you will, from a predator standpoint. Because your self-esteem at those ages is very volatile. And especially in a modeling industry where everything is based on beauty and you're either told, no, you're not good enough, or yes, and it's all about connectivity and you meeting someone who says everything you want and need to hear. And that ego that is developing at that young age is then able to recognize, connect in that, and then it doesn't want to let go.
Yeah.
Because it's the acceptance and approval that that young little girl needs, that she's yearning for. And so that leads me to talk about what are we then teaching our daughters in the conversations with them of you're enough because you breathe.
Yes, yeah.
Thank you so much for listening. If you like the show, please rate and review on iTunes and check out our website, thepowerwomen.org.